gonna hit record here. All right, that's okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Chris McMillan. This is season 1 of Autonomy, and I'm here with the one and only Joshua Hale. Joshua, how are you today?
I'm doing really excellent. I'm about 3 o'clock in the afternoon here, and just been working at home all day, and still have plenty of energy.
Joshua, tell us about your website, Click Monster.
Yeah, well, it's my partner's website, and he's been doing SEO for about 13 years. And a little over a year ago, he found me on Google locally by looking up social media marketing, and my website came up on top. And he asked me for an interview, or to come in for an interview, because he was looking to fill that service in his company.
Yeah.
So I went and I looked him up right after that. And this is what's crazy. 4 years prior, I had a meeting with him through another client who was trying to research SEO and that whole field. And so she dragged me along to this meeting, and I saw him, my now partner Gary's operation, and he had this sweet little office, and he had like three or four freelancers working for him in there. And I walked in there and I was like, this is sweet. This is what I want to do. And lo and behold, 4 years later, he hits me up, brings me in for an interview, and brings me onto the team.
That's great. So how does Click Monster make the world a better place?
Well, they're pretty badass at really getting your website seen on the internet. Oftentimes, as we know, there's so much noise out there for each business to try and be heard that you really have to know what you're doing so that your business comes to the surface in search engine results. So when someone Googles a plumber, you want your name to be shown first so that you get those leads. Because when somebody goes to Google, they have a problem. They know what they need. They want the solution. And so that's the best way online right now to get business.
How does digital marketing, how would you compare it to normal marketing? Advantages, disadvantages?
So traditional marketing, the best analogy is traditional marketing, say 20 years ago, you would pay a huge amount of money to like get your business on a billboard. And you wouldn't really know unless you were asking every customer that came in through your door who was actually seeing that billboard and what effect it was actually having on your business. And what's awesome about now is a small business could basically create a digital billboard, make an ad on Facebook or Google, put it out there in front of the exact type of person that you want, and only pay for the exact type of person that you want, and be able to have an interactive billboard, which is totally mind-blowing, that somebody could comment on your ad and say like, oh, is this for me? You then get notified. You can then engage the audience right then and there. So that alone is really, really powerful. But on top of that, you get to track every person who clicks on your ad, goes to your website, and get to watch what they're doing in order to be able to help them with their journey to find your services.
Yeah, it is mind-blowing, the direction things are going, for good, but also for bad. As you know, technology can be a double-edged sword in many ways. Yeah, so how are things going now with Click Monster? What are your current objectives, projects? What's going on over there?
Yeah, and before I answer that, let me talk about the double-edged sword, because where I come from, I hated Facebook when this was about 10 years ago. Back when I was DJing, I gave my login information to my DJ crew so that they could just promote for me, because I thought it would be on social media was fake, and it was just this made up personas and conversation, and I really didn't want to have anything to do with it. So I just handed over my login info, and they just like would promote upcoming parties on my posts as me. And it wasn't until my first business that I had a purpose and a reason to, and a message that I wanted to convey through this powerful platform, that I decided to take back my login information. I remember writing them an email and letting them know I'm taking my login back. And since then, it really shaped the way that the tool that social media is, because it's such a powerful platform to be able to share your message, your service, your product with the world. And I was so impressed with it that I quickly realized that this was a service that everyone needed, because I saw how big social media was going to be, and every business was going to have to be on it to survive. That I gave up my first business and just started focusing on helping small businesses with their social media.
That's great. Yeah. I left Facebook myself for a year until I decided to come back in a more serious way. And like you said, use it as the tool that it can be used for without the BS, because
Right.
early days, just so much time wasted at the expense of your own privacy. It's incredible. So what about the current projects? What's going on? Current objectives going on over there?
Yeah. Well, since my time with ClickMonster, I was previously, I was paying my bills and making a living, but since being a part of ClickMonster in a larger company, I've had all the education that I needed, that things I wouldn't have been able to afford beforehand, and I've had the support to be able to scale up. And so now I have 3 freelancers working underneath me, each with their own specialization, and I'm able to handle larger and larger amounts of clients at once. And I've really focused on getting my processes down, so that when a prospect becomes a client, they trigger an onboarding sequence, and that gets carried out and goes to the right people that needs to get notified. And everything's been really systematized, and because of that, my quality of work is getting a lot better. The client satisfaction is a lot higher, because they immediately feel taken care of, knowing that things are moving in a very strategic way.
And how are you applying the approaches you make with ClickMonster to everything that you know about freedom and liberty and the truth of what's going on in the world, as opposed to the truth that we're supposed to believe?
Mm-hmm. Well, in my heart, I really love what I'm doing, because I help empower small businesses to succeed in this unfair marketplace. And the people I really help, they have their own like passions and desires, and that's why they're in business doing what they do. And it's not some huge corporatized business that has the money for its own marketing team, has its own department to be able to do everything themselves. I help the person who is so focused on doing everything else, trying to run their business, that typically marketing is the last thing that they want to do and have the time or the energy to be able to focus on it. So that's where I come in. I help give them a system and be able to help co-manage their business, so that they can continue to do what they do, which is create great products and services, and get that message out to the world.
Excellent. So do you tend to focus on family-oriented, like family businesses, smaller startups, as opposed to people who, like you said, don't need? Are there any types of businesses that you prefer to do business with, or is just whoever might need you?
I've kind of gone all over the board, just kind of helping whoever comes around into my sphere, from authors to, oh my gosh,
Dentist and doctor, like holistic
say
one.
that again.
Dentists, doctors, holistic offices.
Right, and that's who my new target is that I'm focusing on to acquire. And since then, I focus on, it's called micro small businesses, basically from 1 to like 10 employees.
Excellent. Okay. Perfect.
And so this has been a very wide swath of different industries since being a part of them.
That's great. What about your physical fitness? Tell us about Wim Hof, the Wim Hof method. I understand you've been involved in that a lot lately. What's it about? What have you been doing with it?
Yeah, I love Wim Hof, and I've been doing it every morning for over 2 months now. And I got his 10-week course. It kept popping up in my environment. I'd run into people who were talking about it. I went to a festival last summer, and there was a Wim Hof workshop. He wasn't there, but people that had been trained by him were there. And I was still even too intimidated, too scared to even take that workshop, because they were doing cold plunges. They brought in a bunch of ice and created a big pool of ice. And I was like, no way. My whole life, I've like hated cold. I've hated the cold, hated cold water. If like a cold raindrop would just hit me on the back of my neck, it would just like be one of the worst feelings that I could imagine. And the thought of taking a cold shower was like, no way, no possible way. And upon hearing all this Wim Hof discussion, so Wim Hof is he's this Norwegian fella who developed a method to.
Sorry to interrupt, Josh. I think he's from Holland. I'm not sure. Is he Norwegian?
Oh,
Dutch?
Thanks. I think he is from Holland. Correct. He developed a method through breathing that you are able to tap into your autonomous nervous system and develop control over what the inside of your body is doing, essentially. And what I've really been able to witness and notice in my own experience is I basically now have the ability to like close off my core, so that when I take a cold shower, that cold shower doesn't penetrate through into my core, which threatens my life. And so by doing breathing every morning, which is essentially just inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale for about 2 minutes, and then hold for 30 seconds to a couple minutes. Again, back and forth. I do that for about 15 minutes every morning, and it's having a really profound effect, not only strengthening my lungs, but it teaches you how to respond in discomfort. So when I walk into a cold shower, which I do now every time, I walk in and I'm doing my breathing, and instead of the threatening form of shallow breathing, where like
Yeah.
that is not good for your body. And so now when I run into a threatening situation, my like breathing training has kicked in, and I'm able to just do controlled full breathing, and I'm staying in control. My mind stays sharp, and my body is now being trained what to do, and being able to close off the capillaries and protect my inner core, so that my skin and the surface can be exposed to cold, but it's not life-threatening.
That's brilliant. Yeah. Do you, in the morning, before or after first coffee, breakfast, do you do it before anything else, or do you at least have a cup of coffee and something to eat before you do it?
So I have a morning routine that I've been doing for 5 years now, and uh, I've consistently done it just about every day, except for having a baby a year ago. That was the most disruptive thing I've ever done in my life, and I have a routine, and it consists of about 5 things. And during the chaos of first having a baby, I got down to doing like either if I could accomplish 1 or 2 of those 5 things, then like I was calling it good. But now I'm back into my normal routine where uh, this was from a guy named Hale, and it's called the Miracle Morning. You can Google that.
Yeah,
But it consists of
rings a bell.
so this Miracle Morning coupled with a book I read called The Power of Habit was really how I was able to solidify this. But I wake up every morning, I come out, and I go to my coffee machine and I start my coffee, and that's called the cue. When if you dissect the habit, there's always a cue that starts it off. So I start my coffee, then I go sit down, and I start my Wim Hof breathing. Breathe, breathe, breathe. I also do push-ups during my breathing.
Yeah.
I hold my breath and do push-ups without breathing, which is mind-blowing. And I'm up to like 34 is now where I'm at, of being able to do 34 push-ups without breathing.
Breathing.
And and then after breathing, I go right into a meditation. And what I also notice the benefit of the breathing is like it just kills the monkey chatter. So it's the fastest way to just really get into a zen space where it connects me to my body. I feel my body. My body feels like energetic from this breathing, and then my mind just like chills out. And
have you ever passed out?
Say that again?
Have you ever passed out?
No. But when you first start this heavy breathing, the first like 2 days, you get really lightheaded, as you would think from what people are called hyperventilation. But you like push through that, and now I can't hyperventilate. Like it's really empowering.
That's great. Yeah. I think Wim Hof is what he's doing is revolutionary. I really do. About NVC, nonviolent communication. I know you've done a few workshops on it, training on it. How do you use it in your everyday life, and how does it apply to what you're doing in your professional and personal life? Tell us about it.
Yeah. I came across NVC through Daryl Becker and the Tragedy and Hope video that they did. Must have been like 8 years ago. But I came across it and I was like really interested in what he was explaining. And then I jumped down that rabbit hole. I went to DuckDuckGo, started searching it, and got everything that I could about it, ordered a book, and I was really, really resonating with everything that I heard and read. Got the book, read like 2 or 3 chapters, and I was like, yeah, this stuff's really good. But I was also reading 10 books like usual, and it just ended up on the shelf. And I realized in order to outsmart myself, I created a local study group so that I hosted, so I had to read the book. So
yeah,
in that way, it was really great to get into a group and go through this more slowly. And it's about communication. So just reading something, you can only grasp the theory, and you really have to get into dialogue. Say that again?
Teaching is the best way to learn.
Exactly. Yeah. So hyper learning is to teach it. And I was lucky enough that I went to my local co-op and saw a poster up on the wall. And we have a local certified trainer of NVC here in the area, and he was putting on a workshop. And I like immediately like called him, sent him an email, like left a comment on his website. I just hit him from all these different angles and ended up on a phone call with him the next day, and we talked for an hour. And since then, I've set up NBC Wacom, a business here in town where we host workshops. So I help him organize events and carry them out. Right now, he's doing a 10-week dojo, communication dojo, that I agreed to watch my baby so that my wife could attend it.
Yeah.
Because the more of us with these skills of compassionate communication, the more the better chance that we have of actually communicating what's going on inside of me and what's going on inside of you, and how we can understand to have a win-win outcome.
His name's what was it? Alan said?
Alan Side.
Alan Side.
Yeah, Side.
Very good. Yeah, that was a great lecture he gave. Well, the lecture, the interview you gave him was priceless.
Awesome. And that methodology of communication I have really internalized, and now it's just a part of who I am. It starts off with kind of a formula of observations, feelings, needs, and requests, and it's kind of robotic when you try to fit communication into that formula. But really, at the core of nonviolent communication is your desire to create connection with another person. If that's your goal, then you're practicing nonviolent communication. When that's not your goal, you're not practicing nonviolent communication.
So if I said, Joshua, you're being hard-headed, yeah, we could convert that to, Joshua, are you being hard-headed?
Yeah, well, when I hear that, it sounds like you have a need to like either connect or communicate, to be understood. Like there's something going on inside of you that you threw that at me, but it's really not about me. There's something about you, and I can then assist you in communicating what's going on. Like, Chris, it sounds like you might really want to have some understanding going on. Like, is there a way that we could explore why you would call me hard-headed?
Yeah.
Instead of me being like, F you, why are you calling me names? And you basically shut down communication at that point.
Yeah. I'm at the point you were before you started teaching it. I mean, I've read Rosenberg's book, but to consciously apply it is more difficult. It seems more difficult, but like anything, I suppose once you start doing it, it'll fall into place.
Oh, because as soon as you get in conflict, your prefrontal cortex shuts down, and so we go back into just a shouting match.
Yeah,
like that's our natural tendency.
The reptilian brain.
Yeah, and man, the more and more NVC training I receive, the more space I have before getting like triggered like that. But still, every time I get triggered, all that knowledge of NVC is stored up in the prefrontal cortex, and it just shuts down. I don't have access to it, and then I'm just saying, well, F it, screw it. And as soon as I start dropping F-bombs, like, we need to take a timeout.
Okay, what about DJ Joshua? Is he still alive? Is he still around?
Yep. I'm really pleased, because that is such a artistic and creative outlet for me to be able to put myself out there in the community and connect with an audience. And it's such a powerful gift to be able to bring dancing into an individual, because when you dance and you're like in the zone dancing, you don't care what other people are thinking about you. You are not thinking, you're just expressing fully in the moment, because you're just letting your body dictate what you're doing. and you put your thoughts aside and you're truly like alive at that moment. So to be a conduit to a dance floor that's allowing that to happen is really fulfilling for me.
Have you produced much? What about you producing music? Have you done much of that?
I've done some remixes with some other producers.
Yeah.
And I wasn't organized enough at the time to be able to learn the skill of production.
Okay.
And I'm totally okay with it, because when you become a producer, you're expected to play your own production. And me, I scour the internet for the best music for my style. And I have the liberty to play the best stuff, basically, in my opinion, in the world. And if I was a producer, I would be stuck kind of playing my best attempt at the best stuff of the world. So I'm pretty happy just playing the best.
Who are some examples of musicians and groups that have been most influential in your life?
Oh, man. If you Google Tipper, Tipper, that will melt your brain.
Okay, Tipper.
And
by the way, going back to what we were talking about, The Miracle Morning is by Hal Elrod.
Thank you. Yeah, I couldn't remember the last name.
Tipper, I will check them, him, her. Is it a group?
Him, a producer from the UK. He does electronic music.
Cool. Last question. How are you finding Autonomy?
Well, I really am a poster child for this course, because I dropped out of school in the 10th grade. I just started doing a copious amount of drugs, and I was an outcast from society. I knew there was something wrong with this system and couldn't put my finger on it, so I was okay being the rebel from that system, and justified it through drugs and escapism. And wasn't until I kind of pulled myself out of that daze, of that cloud, that I realized, like, I have unlimited potential. And pulling myself out of that cloud, I realized I was severely lacking in skills, social skills, any sort of like how to learn skills. And that was about 6 years ago is when I got sober. And so I've been hard at work trying to catch up for my lack of skills for that whole duration, and have been learning step by step on how to be the most productive in my own life. And so by the time the Autonomy course entered my life, I've already been putting the stuff in play. I've already learned how to be an entrepreneur and be able to not be reliant on another person for a career.
Yeah.
And then it's just really like, how do you, now that you can do it, how do you do it well? And so that's what really I'm gaining from Autonomy is how to do it well.
Excellent. Cool. All right, Joshua Hale, thank you very much. Appreciate your time and your talk. Thanks a lot, man. Anything to add before I stop recording?
Well, I just appreciate taking the time with you, Chris, and you asked some great questions, and it's something obviously that I'm passionate about, is talking about myself. So I appreciate this little opportunity to kind of share my backstory and to be able to inspire others.
All right. Thanks a lot, man.